Hello everyone, Autistic Genius here. This is the world famous Jules. Well, today we're talking autism parenting. Hooray. Tell me more. Did you suspect anything like? Was there anything that you thought was a bit that you can maybe feel like?
Yeah. When he was about 2, he was like sort of lining things up. There was a lot of it was absolutely so into Lego. It was unbelievable, and he would build things like multi-story car parks and out of Lego, and he would Google a multi-story car park in Redditch and rebuild it in Lego.
At the age of 2?
2, 3.
Jeez Louise.
Other interests would come in, and it would be maps. Really into doing maps. That started. There was something that he picked up at school. They asked him to draw a map from home to school, and he did that, and he did it absolutely brilliantly, really sort of intricately drawn out. And before you knew it, a couple of weeks later, he's doing these great big huge maps, like on pieces of paper this big. We've got at home a map from our house to Scotland, with all the motorway networks and everything.
I think I need to see this.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. And he was doing that at the age of 7. So I knew that there was something quite special about him. Although his speech was pretty good. His speech, he was like a little professor.
But that's also a sign, because the ukulele makes you sound more, can make you sound more intelligent than you actually are.
Yeah.
It's not the words, it's the understanding.
So some of his words as well. Even now he does this thing where he's like sort of, he makes up a word.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's almost like he knows what it means, but nobody else does.
Oh,
and it will be a combination of 2 different
words.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. But he is quite.
So it's interesting because it's like struggling to communicate in our way, so he tries to invent his own way.
Yeah, it is all. Yeah.
Did you seek what professional help did you seek? Like.
Well, I think that because at first I didn't really quite know what was going on, because I had absolutely I had nothing at all about. I knew nothing at all about autism, or I didn't even know what I was looking at. Yeah. All I knew that he was struggling at school, and he was falling behind on his reading and his writing, and there was something not adding up. And I kept going to the school and saying, look, you know, I'm a bit concerned about him being behind. And they're going, no, he'll catch up. Until I think we got to about year 3. And every parent's evening I go to, it's, oh, your boy is wonderful. He's got impeccable manners. Everybody likes him. They want to be with him. You know, he's lovely. Everybody loves him. He's lovely to work with. And I would hear that all the time. And I sort of struck the question out and said, what is he good at? Tell me what he's good at. And the teacher couldn't answer me. So, and I said, well, I'm going to make it easy for the teacher, because obviously something's not quite adding up. And I thought, well, I'm going to talk to the teacher sort of quite bluntly and say, right, okay, is he dyslexic? Because that was what was going what was going through my mind. Is he dyslexic? And she went, don't know if he's dyslexic, but his thought patterns are very different to the other children. And I went, oh, bingo!
But they don't want to say, because it is it's not an easy thing to say.
No, it's really difficult.
Especially if you're not the Senko.
Exactly, and it's really difficult for them to, and because of him being so high functioning, it was quite hard to detect, because he wasn't throwing chairs and swearing at teachers and doing all that. He was just sitting quietly in the background, getting on with it, but just not quite, you know, he would see things in a very different way. But the teacher had picked up on that, but I had to sort of really
I know what you mean.
force it out.
The thing is that they can get into a lot of trouble saying stuff like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, once I'd broke the ice, that was it, you know. She said, oh, you know, should we start, like, getting some assessments in? Should we just, you know? And I said, oh yeah, you just bring it all in, just keep it coming. I need to get to the bottom of this. And I think that's when it really started.
So what was the process you went through? So the school have said, yeah, there's something we think he's a bit different.
Yeah.
He thinks differently. So then what happened after the school caught wind of it?
Well, the first thing they did was they got like speech and language involved.
Yeah.
And they get speech and language involved. Come and do a few assessments with him at school. See how he's communicating, what his understanding is, because it was quite difficult because his communication appeared to be really good, although it seems like he's understanding it a lot of the time. He's not.
Yeah.
It's something else. And speech and language picked up on that.
Using words but doesn't get what they are.
Yeah. Went through a few of those assessments. We had a few reports. I had no idea how long-winded and how long it was going to take.
How many years?
The whole process before we got a diagnosis, probably about 18 months. We were pushing and pushing and pushing. I was on the phone all the time, you know.
You have to be, yeah.
I'm not really one of them persons to sit there and wait and say...
My mum's the same.
Come on!
My mum had to do that for 16 years.
Yeah.
So...
I feel for her. Went through occupational therapy. Got referred to occupational therapy, which is... they kind of concentrate on what makes him tick in a way. It's like anything to do with his... If there's any problems that he's having with his sensory issues, they're going to pick it up.
Yeah. Or they might not. Can they say what the first thing was? The first thing that used to make him go mad? Like what was it that they noticed what made him, like, caused him problems sensory-wise?
Do you know, I think actually, no, before we even got to the occupational therapist, I remember him being like 6 months old, and every time somebody opened a bottle of fizzy drink, he'd really jump. And he also had a problem with the washing machine, and he was absolutely petrified of it. So, looking back on it, at the time I didn't know, but looking back on it,
you see it, like, it's all clicking, isn't it?
High-pitched, hissing type noises that were unexpected were affecting him.
But for me, I can hear dog whistles.
Yeah.
I know people think that's weird, but if it's a dog whistle, I can hear it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's a trait or that's just...
He might.
I don't know if I'm... Yeah, honestly, I can hear dog whistles. It's ever so strange. The teacher picks up on it. There's a sensory issue, which is really... it took 18 months to diagnose.
Yeah.
What did you do? Once you got the diagnosis, where did you go for knowledge? Where did you go for...
I mean, it wasn't until we got to the clinical psychologist at the pear tree. That was the guy who did the diagnosis.
Oh, right.
So, like, you know, it's not like as easy as just getting a diagnosis.
It's very difficult.
You've got such a big journey to go through.
It's definitely the right thing to do.
You have to. Because if you don't, then you can't. Without the knowledge that you have, you can't support your child, and I think that's like probably the most important part of it. The clinical psychologist had diagnosed, and we kind of sat there and went, okay, now what? And they just went, that's it.
For us, yeah.
That's it. We're done. And I'm like,
so what's next? Yeah.
Yeah. So some people, and I think I've spoken to quite a few parents who have had the same thing, where they've done this great big huge journey,
and then it's over like that.
And then they get the diagnostic report, and they look at it, and they say, well, what do we do now? Nothing, just go and live your life. And that is quite daunting, because for all the leaflets and things like that are about, it's a daunting experience having to sit there and think, oh my God, I've got to learn all about this. But once you do start, it becomes part of your life, and it's introducing that knowledge into your life.
Oh yeah.
As and that's your support, is your knowledge.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And also, you don't realise how many other people are affected by it as well.
It's incredible.
And
well, they say that
2.7
million are affected every day.
That's another route of support as well, because you know that this isn't quite as lonely as you thought it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You know, when you first sort of enter the world of autism in one way or another, you know, whether you have autism or whether you are a parent of a child with autism, you are going to feel isolated no matter what.
How did it affect the family unit? So you obviously the child's not changed, but you've got new knowledge.
It made it better. It made it better for us because knowing what we were dealing with helped us to adapt to the way he was thinking and the way he reacted to things. So it's not, you know, he didn't become any different. You know, we became different. Do you know what I mean? It never changed the child; it changed us.
Was it a relief?
Yes.
Because like, you think my son's just a bit odd, or he's a bit but then when you realise that, it's a way of It is. It is a massive relief because you were thinking because you do go through when you've got all these assessments going on. The natural thing to think of as a parent is, what did I do to make my child like this? What did I do so wrong? You know, have I brought them up correctly? Did I? You do think like that.
And that, it is a natural thing. It's a normal, natural thing for any parent. Any parent who cares are going to blame themselves, and it is a real normal thing to go through.
If you imagine you're not talking to me, talking to everyone, say why is it so important to have this knowledge? Just in general sense, why is it so important to have knowledge of this, of autism?
Because without it, you're lost. Totally lost. And without your knowledge of autism for your child, they are on their own.
Yeah.
Completely on their own. And that's quite frightening.
And that's about acceptance as well.
You know, I think it's important to go with your instincts. Got to go with
and
your
that was
instincts.
you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And a lot of parents do it as well. And
my mum was like that. But I was very badly behaved. So it was a behaviour.
Really? But with my boy, it's the opposite way around. He would be quiet.
He was well behaved.
Polite, well behaved, frightened to say anything to anybody just in case he got into trouble. Get home and it was just like a fizzy bottle had just opened and it was...
But that's not...
Whoa!
But we've got another one. I know another child the same.
I really, you know, because at the time I didn't have that knowledge to start off with, I kind of took that personally.
Yeah.
Why is my child behaving at school?
And I think you need that reassurance to
and
something normal.
Why is he coming home and taking it out on me? And I do so much for this job.
Yeah.
It's like a thankless job. But as you gain knowledge, you suddenly realise that actually the reason why he's doing it is because he feels safe.
Yeah.
He's home in a safe environment where he knows that you love him unconditionally and nothing he can do can stop that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and the feeling of being that safe allows him to take it out on you. That was a big learning curve for me because then I had to sort of say to myself, this isn't about me, this is about him coping.
If a man approached you and said, I can take the autism away, what would you say?
I'd say never.
Never?
No. Because both my children, you know, I mean, I've got a little one who's going through assessments as well. And it's who they are. And it's not... it's not like I'm looking for a person beyond the autism.
Yeah,
they are.
They are, yeah.
They are
who they are.
And, you know, no, I wouldn't, no, not at all. Not at all. Wouldn't change them for the world. No.
Thanks a lot, Jules.
That's okay.
Yay!